Hey toy collectors, welcome to another super exciting, outrageous toy review. I've got my buddy Dave Croft here, and we are taking a look at the top 10 G.I. Joes of 1991. This list was voted on by the fans on the G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero 1982 to 1994 group on Facebook. We're getting down to smaller votes of a total number of votes, so you may have a different opinion than this list. It's not quite as concrete when our number one is winning by hundreds of votes. But I think we got another solid list here, and we're going to start from number 10 and work our way up. So the number 10 figure we've got is Red Star. I did not have this figure as a kid, but a friend of mine did. I liked the idea of us finally getting October Guard figures, even though this isn't one of the guys that we saw in the cartoon or the comic. But it was a cool concept to get this third faction that sometimes worked the Joes, sometimes didn't. I loved the removable hat. That was something that Hasbro had done with their Cops line, where some of the guys had these removable caps, and we never really saw that with G.I. Joe. It was either molded on for the most part, or, like a hard helmet. We had started to see it with Naga hide, but this one really fit well and really looked great on the figure.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm really surprised. I was begging and pleading Hasbro to create October Guard figures. I loved them in the comic book, and I just wanted all of them. So for this to be the first one that they really did, I'm with you. I like the hat. That was a good touch. I do wish there was a different figure, but I can understand this figure doing fairly well. I'm a little surprised that it would fit in the top 10. There's some figures that didn't make it to the top 10 that I thought were going to be in there, but yeah, it's a good figure. It's a decent figure.
In the number 9 spot, we've got a vehicle driver, but one that I think lives on outside of his vehicle in a lot of ways. We've got the Interrogator. This is a character who, just through his file card and the menacing look of the figure, just kind of stands out compared to the fact that he came with a gimmicky pull-string helicopter.
I army build this figure. I'm sure a lot of people do. I think they did such a good job. I feel like, I wonder if they made this figure separate from what the vehicle was going to be. And I wonder, because this figure has so much potential. It's so cool. It has a great sculpt, has a great paint deco. I really wish that they would have given this figure to a vehicle, or they could have made him as its own standalone, didn't need a vehicle. I thought it was cool to go down the interrogation kind of route. I think it's a little creepy that they went as far as they did with it, to have this kind of interrogation electroshock kind of gun. They took a risk, and it paid off. I think this figure is great.
He's got a really cool helmet with a regal uniform, and that just makes for a great figure.
Yeah.
In the number 8 spot, we've got Snake Eyes. Bright blue with some orange accessories. That's a winning recipe for Snake Eyes.
This is your favorite figure.
I don't hate him. I had him as a kid. He's a goofy version, but you have to keep those popular characters out. How do we sell them again? How do we compete with Ninja Turtles? Well, we're going to give them bright orange stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this is a figure that's interesting to me, because when I was a kid and I saw this figure, I had no interest in this figure. As an adult, when I started collecting again, I had no interest in this figure. But only until the last 2 or 3 years have I really gained an appreciation for this figure. I actually really, really like this figure. I will agree with you on your other video that the orange accessories, to me, is just shooting you in the kneecap. It's bad.
Yeah, it's a crime for this figure.
But I will say this. This figure's mold is great.
Yeah.
It is really, really good. And if they would have done him in a different color, or like you had said in your other video, a darker blue, this figure would have gone, I think, a lot further with the fans. I think it could have done great things. But man, the accessories just kill this figure.
In the number 7 spot, we've got Heavy Duty. Heavy Duty comes with one of the most ridiculous sets of accessories ever. At this point in the line, Hasbro is trying to pack in play features. So everybody's got a missile launcher or some sort of a gimmick. And Heavy Duty has a weapon system that he steps into.
Yeah. And not only that, it is dual firing. And the thing is so big, and on top of that, he's got the sight that always breaks.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, now I will say this: the sculpt of the figure and the paint application of this figure are really, really good. I feel like if they would have gotten out of their own way, like you said, 91, they really kind of started going with the gimmick stuff. This figure, you could put this figure with a lot of other accessories and he would be great. Granted, he did pretty well because he's in our top 10. I get it. You got a figure called Heavy Duty, you got to have heavy stuff with him. I get it. It's a little over the top to me, but it's a cool figure.
Number 6, we've got Tracker. This one's an odd one. I'm kind of surprised. He's a goofy figure in the sense that he's got like these weird track shoes. He's got a red chest. He comes with an inflatable raft. But I guess he was popular with people.
And I like the idea of there being a tracker. I love the idea. I mean, that's one of the things that I liked about Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw and heard about this figure, I thought, that's a cool idea. I just don't understand any of the decisions they made. Like, every decision seemed to be bad.
He's
like,
one of the least militaristic looking guys in the whole line.
Yeah, and like, I can almost buy the idea of an inflatable raft. I can almost buy that. But the color of the raft doesn't even make any sense to me. I mean, if you're tracking somebody, don't you want to have some level of stealth? I don't get it. And then the paddles, the oars that he has, are the color that they chose for those. It just, every decision seemed to be a bad idea. I wish they would have said, we're going to go and we're going to create a new tracker, and we're just going to throw away all of this figure. I don't get it. But
he did really well.
Clearly people like him.
Number 5, we've got a new bad guy on the block in Cesspool.
Yeah.
I bought him as a kid. I bought into this, and I didn't get a lot of 91 figures. But seeing a new, guy to add to the Cobra hierarchy was exciting to me.
Yeah. Yeah, this is an interesting figure. I really like this figure. I thought it was a cool idea. I'm actually a fairly big fan of Eco Warriors. I think they did some somewhat poor decisions in some of the other figures, but not with Cesspool. I think they did a really, really good job. I think it's interesting that they gave him that gun chainsaw. That's really weird, but if you're going to go Eco Warriors, okay, I don't know what the chainsaw is.
Saw down the forest, the red forest or something.
I don't know, I always thought, he's got this chainsaw and it can do the same things that Buzzer's chainsaw can do, so he's, cutting through biomaterial that has goo in it. I don't know, but I could buy that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, kudos to people voting for Cesspool. He's a cool figure.
He's a cool figure.
Yeah.
The number 4 figure we've got is the Crimson Guard Immortal. I think he's an interesting one because the Crimson Guard has such a prominent legacy in the G.I. Joe line, and they really kind of beefed him up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this was my vote. I love the Crimson Guard Immortal. I think they did such a good job, not only with the sculpt of this figure, I think the idea of this figure, I think the cool little touch that they did is that he's got dual guns, and one gun is all about missiles, the other one is a missile and a machine gun, which is a really nice touch, because when you first look at it, you're like, oh, it's just got a bunch of missile launchers, what? But I think they did a really good job with the accessories. I think it could have been cool if they would have worked in maybe he only had one of those dual guns, and on the other hand, he could have something different. I don't know, maybe a shield or maybe a different kind of gun. But I think the sculpt on this figure and the paint on this figure is just great.
Our number 3 figure is Big Ben. We got to get some guys in here from the UK.
Yeah.
G.I. Joe's going international.
That's right. Big Ben, I mean, I think this figure is an underrated figure. Even though it is number 3 on our list, I really like this figure. I think it's really, really cool. This figure has been going up in value, but I think he's really, really cool. I think they did a really good job on the sculpt. I think they made some smart decisions on the gun and the satchel and the grenades that he comes with. He's got this big backpack. I'm not real sure why the backpack is as big as he is, but it's really cool. I think they did a great job on the colors that they picked for him. I think the artwork is a little weird because he's in this maybe he's throwing a grenade, kind of hokey, kind of run thing. But I don't know. I like this figure a lot.
I do like that they held back on the spring-loaded missile on this guy.
Thank God.
Not every 91 guy had to have a missile launcher.
That's right.
The number 2 figure on our list obviously got to this point because he has a pet. We've got Dusty and Sandstorm.
Yeah.
This figure is a pretty cool update of a character we haven't seen in a long time. A very big departure, I think, from his original sculpt. Even though he's still a desert trooper.
Mm-hmm.
Just very different. We never saw him so exposed.
I wish there was a little bit more tie back to the original Dusty. Maybe if the camo was more of the brown as opposed to that orangish yellowish kind of color. I do feel like he's got a lot of skin exposed to be in the desert for long periods of time. I do love the idea of giving him the pet.
Yeah.
That the pet is that color that they gave him. Because if you think about, like, Spearhead Max has got this Bobcat, but the Bobcat's like orange.
Right.
Which was weird to me. But with Dusty and Sandstorm, you have this nice, cool, like, tan idea. I think that was a good choice. I do wish the tail would actually not break at the end for every figure, but that's another story for another day. But I think this figure is really, really cool. I think it's underappreciated. It would have been some, like I said, I think there would be some cool things that they could have done. One of your ideas that you've had over the series here is maybe the gun should have been a throwback.
Or the backpack. Something ties back to that original figure.
Yeah.
Like he still has some of the same equipment.
Yep.
But the sliding stock on the one gun's really neat. You know, it's a cool figure.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And our number 1, you just can't beat a good army builder.
No.
You got the Desert Scorpion. He's got a pet.
He's got a pet.
He's got a pet.
And I love this figure, and I army build the hell out of this figure. I mean, at this point, Desert Scorpions are getting pretty expensive, but I think this figure is great. I do think the backpack is a little strange.
What about the digging claw things?
Well, so here's the other thing is I like the digging claws. I do think it's a little strange to have that. Like, I'm not quite sure what he needs those for in the desert. But I always think it's interesting of how many people don't realize that there's a right and a left digging claw. And that's one of those things that you don't really notice until you have the left and the right in your hand and in possession and looking at them closely. Because a lot of people think it's the same. But, I mean, the amount of accessories he comes with, I did when I first saw this character. To have the Scorpion damn near as big as it is, I just was like, this is insane. But on the other hand, I thought it was really cool as an adult. I'm totally by it. I don't know how he controls his Desert Scorpion, but he does, so kudos to him.
I also love that in the later iterations, they went to like a mechanical Scorpion for him. I thought that was a cool update twist to make it a little bit more believable.
Yeah.
But yeah, this first figure is a classic.
It is.
He's got the tattoo, and he's got the Dusty slap.
Yep.
And it's great that they put out 2 Desert Troopers, because a lot of times we would miss that. You would get a SEAL and then the bad guy SEAL. You get an Arctic Trooper, and then like the next year the bad guy version. And this year they lined up, which was great.
Yep.
All right, thanks for watching this super exciting, outrageous tour review. Make sure to like, subscribe, and in the comments down below, let me know what your thoughts are on 1991.